Hello, and welcome to the Gaia update for Jupiter transiting into Sagittarius 2018 until December 2nd, 2019. I'm Adrienne Elise. So Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and so on Friday, November 9th, is when Jupiter transits into its home sign, coming home. Jupiter is often seen as the king, and it's like there is a lot of celebration with the king returning home. It's his favorite place to be. And Jupiter is known for bringing light, for bringing hope, for bringing connection, for bringing abundance and opportunities. So it's a really big shift for us. And this is an important energy as Jupiter moves into its home sign of Sagittarius. Shortly after that, Mercury is in Sagittarius there with Jupiter, and Mercury takes a retrograde in Sagittarius, and its retrograde will take it back into Scorpio and then back into Sagittarius. So Mercury the messenger is helping us transition over this very potent place of the zodiac, because Scorpio is where we go down into the depths. It's the dark night of the soul. It's also the meaning and the purpose. It's death but also rebirth and transformation. And so Scorpio is about going into the depths of who we are and coming back with more of our truth and cleaning out what's not true. Now, Sagittarius is where life goes to another level in the journey of the zodiac. It's like, okay, into the wilderness of Scorpio, into that dark place, into claiming purpose and meaning. And then Sagittarius is the energy of celebrating that purpose, getting on a quest. Sagittarius rules areas of our life where we have a passion for discovery, for learning, and for study, for higher knowledge. And so it's about this quest, and this is such an important transit for anybody who has any Sagittarius, which we all really do in our chart. But if you have a bunch of Sagittarius has been kind of worked over with this having Saturn there recently, and then we also had a Pluto transit in Sagittarius before it went into Capricorn. So it's been some time of Sagittarius really getting worked, and it has a feeling of, and this is really kind of resonating with the whole journey of souls, especially light worker souls on the planet right now, that there's an opportunity with this Jupiter home in Sagittarius over this next year, a year and a month, to come back into the quest, to come back into your mission, to get back on your path of discovery, of learning, of spiritual purpose. And this has kind of been taken from us, and it's such an intense energy, especially for the light worker indigo crystal seed soul, because it's lifetimes of coming to the planet and having your mission, your spiritual mission. You know, what kind of defines these souls is that they had a deep desire to come to the earth and bring their light and hold space for this spiritual transition and this human evolution on earth. But there's this kind of experience of a lifetime after lifetime, especially for the indigo soul, having this mission thwarted. Maybe you were killed, maybe you were interfered with, maybe you were obstructed on some level, and it's just this like core level frustration to the point where these souls often, you know, being killed early or something happened to them, turning right back around with this deep desire, karmic desire to come to the earth and bring the light and be the hope and be the inspiration. This is the energy of Sagittarius. And then not having that time to go back in between lifetimes, back to source, to completely rest and rejuvenate. So this energy of Sagittarius is like, coming home for a lot of souls. It's really important time to claim back your mission, Is it okay to have a mission? Because this is kind of the energy of what's happened through persecution in past lives. Is kind of like almost like a gaslighting. If you know that term, it's like convincing you that your reality isn't true and you're crazy, and yet the whole purpose of the indigo soul, and the crystal seeds to be on the planet is light and the mission and the quest and the journey of it. And so to be told that that's not valid and it doesn't matter, we don't want that, again and again over lifetimes, has kind of created a deep rift in the soul of these souls. Often that can happen. And so this Jupiter back at home in Sagittarius is like a time to, on the one hand, come back into that quest and to grab a hold of your permission for your spiritual purpose, and find out what it is, and be open to, Sagittarius wants to learn and to grow and to travel, and so a lot of experiences coming this next year to help you figure out what your quest is. Because what's happened is these souls have been so kind of programmed and persecuted against this quest and told that it's not even valid. It's kind of even there's a story out there that it's not a healthy thing. It's your ego or something, right? And it's like, that's totally hogwash. But it's like, we have to come back into permission, for this quest and for this mission. And what it is it's like, that's why that Mercury retrograde is so potent, because it's like that going into the depths of that Scorpio energy and finding that purpose, finding deeper meaning, and then living it, breathing it, being on the path. And so the Jupiter and Sag for a lot of souls is like these timelines landing where all of a sudden, things are starting to come together. A lot of light workers are so frustrated because they're like, I know I'm here to do something, and then of course, and I've even said this too, it's like that whole thing of like, well, you're here to be the light, you're just here to be. Right? It's not about accomplishing something, but there is this mission. We do come in with a certain set of skills that we want to use. And when we're not using these skills, especially for the light worker soul, because they've had so many experiences in prior evolutions before Earth, so they've got all this mad skills. And then, but if we don't have permission to use them and we don't have support and we don't have any validation, then they kind of wither up inside of us. They kind of start to eat away at us. It brings a sense of like this esoteric depression. And it's like Jupiter and Sag is like, it's time to get over that energy, and claim back this zest for life. Sagittarius, anybody who has a lot of fire in their chart is going to be highly activated by this energy this year. And coming back into the fire energy has a creative, transformative energy. And when we don't have a lot of fire energy in our life or in our chart, we feel disconnected, from source. We feel like there's nothing to live for, and that's how a lot of souls, indigo souls, have been feeling. And so this Jupiter and Sagittarius is a powerful and potent time, but we also have to use it to our advantage. We have to be willing to take this year and dedicate ourselves to the permission. That's where this Venus retrograde leaning up and overlapping with a Jupiter moving into Sagittarius is also really important in preparing us for our return to the quest, because it is challenging and showing us where we have issues with our self-worth, whether we deserve this quest. And first we have to validate that it's even real, which is like, that's just been so programmed out of us. And then we have to know, come into work with our self-worth issues around whether we deserve a life of excitement, and expansion. Jupiter just expands whatever it comes into contact with. And so in Sagittarius, it's expanding this mission and this quest. And it's just a beautiful thing. There's no negative to it. And yet we've been told that, it's an egotistical thing, or it's like we're trying to change things. This is a lot of messages that light worker souls get, is just like, you're just trying to change too much, like, why can't you just be happy with the way things are, and it's like, because because the deal is with the light worker soul is like, and especially these last few years, it's been such a struggle to be on the planet, because these souls are so sensitive to collective energy. and so sensitive to the pain and the suffering and the struggle, you know, that other people can just block out and they can live their life and they can feel totally fine about it. But these sensitive souls, they feel it, and it's just like, we got to change this, you know, we got to make this world better. And then the energy around you is just like, oh, why are you stirring things up? You know, and so it's like, this is a coming home, a validation, just really awesome energy for those souls this year. But we kind of got to reach out and grab it. We got to be open to it. We've got to work on that self-worth. We've got to change all the programming we have around whether a quest to change the planet in the most positive direction is a good thing, you know, or not. It's like, well, how could it be bad, right? But yet this is what's been programmed into us over these lifetimes. And so it's kind of, you know, with groupthink and the way the programming has been evolved to keep us from our spiritual evolution, when you go out and you start on that path, you're going to find a lot of obstruction, you know. And so a lot of people have been incredibly discouraged because it's like, but I know I'm here for a purpose. And then the world around you says, don't shine, you know, don't bother with that. Like, don't try to make yourself better than anybody else, you know. And it's like, it's not actually about that. You know, there's so much light available for all of us. And you owning your light and shining your light and claiming your purpose is not going to take away from anyone. You know, and it's like, where did we get programmed into mediocrity and stuckness? You know, and we don't want to ever change anything. And these light worker souls are like, you know, it's like beating your head against the wall because you only came here for that. And if energy isn't moving and things aren't getting lighter and the psychic energy around you isn't shifting, it feels like it brings up deep failure energy. And that's a lot of what needs to be overcome to claim back our quest, right? Like, we got to claim back, overcome that programming of failure energy, where you were thwarted in your quest and then you took it personally and kind of like, well, I don't really deserve to be on the quest, you know? And yet it's the whole point of why you're here. And it feels like then there's just that kind of ennui, that boredom of like, what is life? What is the point? You know, and we don't have time for that anymore. It was fine for the last few years, last 10 years, last 20 years, last couple lifetimes, but stuff's happening now. And this Jupiter moving into Sagittarius is like the beginning of a very big shift of energy that has to do with the North Node moving into the sign of Cancer until 2020, May of 2020. That happens in November of 2018. And then in the spring, we're going to have Chiron moving back into Aries for good, and Uranus moving back into Taurus for good. These are big generational changes, big energetic changes. We are not going to stay where we're at as much as it feels like we're going to be stuck here forever. And a big part of that is opening up to this, what this Jupiter in Sagittarius is bringing to us, which is a reconnection to the hope, to the inspiration, to the light, to the meaning, to the purpose. And then it's interesting because it's almost like forging back that connection into this communion with your mission and with your gifts and with your skills and with your passions, allows the soul to rest, right? Because we talked about how the soul in between lifetimes, if your mission was thwarted, then maybe you came right back on the planet and you hit the ground running and on the mission again, and then they're after you, and it's just a whole nother drama-filled adventure, and it doesn't allow the soul to rest and come back to source. So it's a really sweet combination, actually, to have Jupiter in Sagittarius, home in Sagittarius, and the North Node in Cancer, because it's opening us up to a huge level of nurturing and self-nurturing connection with the Great Mother energy, with the Divine Feminine in our own heart and in our own life. So it's really sweet because I feel like that Jupiter and Sag energy is going to bring us back to like, oh gosh, I just thought I was like completely on the wrong planet or something, you know, like I thought that I was just lost. who am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? And coming back into that quest, the timeline's trying to land. So Jupiter moves into Scorpio, but it's going to take a retrograde throughout the spring and summer. And so that is interesting because that's right where we're having that shift of Chiron into Aries and Uranus into Taurus. And those energies have a lot of kind of indication of timelines trying to land, like your positive timeline, like the people, the support you need to do what you're here to do. And so we're kind of entering into that energy, getting a glimpse of it, resetting our vibrational field, knowing we deserve it, feeling that relief of spiritual validation coming back into our life of who we really are. But then we're going to be journeying into this kind of preparing for these timelines to land. And that's part of the deal with the indigo and the crystal seed, the lightworker mission, and that feeling of like, I know I'm here to do something. You know, I know I have this greater purpose. And then everybody around you has that thing of like, oh, you just think you're better than other people, you know, and it's like, no, this is a soul expression that needs to happen, and it's a beautiful gift. Why would we want to keep it from the world? Like, please bring forward what you have. We need it so badly right now. But part of the energy of confusion around your path and validation of your path is that you have one little puzzle piece. Okay, so a lot of the energy that we've been working with, preparing for, and kind of resolving karma and patterns around is whether or not we deserve, and whether or not we can open up channels, clear karmic blocks to our soul team, to these other indigo souls that are in our soul group. Soul groups incarnate together, but they don't necessarily incarnate at the same place on the planet, because you're supposed to be a light in, you know, in maybe some darkness, right? So we've got to spread that light around. But there's also programming, because if you've been targeted in a past life for your light, then two of you is way more of a target, much less a whole group. And yet these soul groups are getting ready to come back together. This is part of the Aquarian age. It's part of the positive energy of the internet, bringing us together no matter where we are, to work on these projects and get on the mission and get on fire about what we're here to do and start enjoying ourselves. And so the thing is that, you know, if you have this, you feel inside there's this thing you need to do, this purpose, this something, and but you only have one little puzzle piece, and say it's like a 1,000-piece puzzle, okay, and you don't have the picture, you only have this one little piece. How can you expect to see the whole big picture from your little piece? Right? So that's why we need to call together our soul teams to figure out, actually, we can't really get on our mission, you know, and our bigger purpose as light workers on the planet until we come together. So that's a big part of this next year as well. And just overcoming all the blocks that are in the way so these timelines can land, we can find our people and get to work on these amazing projects. So that's a lot of what this Jupiter energy is about. It's about going for your dreams, you know, and maybe claiming back your dreams to the point where they could be so programmed, and your gifts could be so programmed out of you and beaten out of you, you know, and oppressed and kind of targeted and you know, persecuted out of you, we'll say, that you don't even know. Like, you have a sense that you have this mission, but you have no idea what it is. You know, and that's part of the programming too. So we got a lot of work to do to like clear this stuff and you know, it's like soul retrieval work of claiming back these parts of yourself that have been rejected, you know, and programmed. That maybe you don't deserve it, or it's not even you, and you don't even know who you are. So many indigo souls really want to have these good things happen in their life, but they don't, and they want to live their purpose, you know, so badly, so much desire to do that, and yet they don't even know who they are, you know, because it's been, you know, persecuted out of them and been so blocked and rejected. And so it's like, you know, keeping it at an arm's length, these light and gifts and skills that we all have, that we've worked for many, many lifetimes and evolutions to develop, to bring here right now. And the path, the quest is exciting, you know, especially after you've gone through the wilderness. of this Scorpio time, of this Venus retrograde and Jupiter and Scorpio. We've gone through the wilderness. We faced the darkness. Now we're going to celebrate the light. We're going to succeed. We're going to move into that connecting into that higher level of experience that's available to us as we express this energy. And so, Sagittarius has this energy, and Jupiter is going to be expanding it and just so comfortable. Maybe this is part of the energy of feeling really comfortable on the planet. Most indigo crystal seed souls don't feel like they belong, and maybe not even in their body. Their fit with their body is not right, and the ancestral, the disease patterns, and it's kind of like feeling like, oh, it just doesn't fit. And this Jupiter home in Sag is kind of like, okay, arrive. Like, it's okay to be on the planet, right? Like, we're here, and integrate, rest, and get back on the journey. So a huge energy for expansion, for opportunities, for abundance, growth, gifts, inspiration, and mostly that feeling of connecting to something bigger and meaningful, and like, oh gosh, I thought I was just dropped off on the wrong planet and completely lost and alone, but turns out I was just kind of programmed to not receive this, to not be in this light, and to not be on the quest. Why even bother with the mission? Because they're gonna, it's easier. It's almost like we've made a contractual arrangement with the control energies on the planet and said, it's cool, I'm done being, interfered with and persecuted. I'm gonna just give up that mission for a few lifetimes, right? Like, I'm just gonna pretend that I never even wanted to do that, but we can't do it anymore. It's time now. It's super exciting, but we've got to be willing to face this programming and clear these energies within our field. So the deal with Jupiter in this Jupiter transiting through Sagittarius is that Jupiter will come up into a square with Neptune. And this is actually really challenging, exactly what I was just talking about. Neptune is our spiritual connection, our connection to source, and Jupiter home in Sagittarius was like, wow, celebrate, inspiration, feel the light, express the creativity. Like, God is everywhere. We can grab a hold of this spiritual energy and have it for ourselves, and then Neptune has this kind of mysterious, more delusional energy. It's a true connection to source, but it's also delusions around that, which is what got us into trouble in the Piscean age. That oneness energy, and the one God energy, which is, a beautiful concept, but also can be used to control people and the masses through domination and through lies, and persecution, So Jupiter's coming head to head with this energy, challenging this energy of the Pisces delusion, because the downside of Pisces is that delusion that it's like, oh, God has left me. I'm here all alone. I don't deserve God in my life. Like, God is something outside of me that I have to earn back. And, Neptune, the positive aspects of Neptune in Pisces is about feeling that, like feeling a part of the oneness. And so Jupiter is kind of coming up with this square, challenging this past age, a lot of the paradigms of our past age, of the age of Pisces, and religious domination and control, and being like, okay, so God's outside of you. That's great. And go ahead and do everything you need to do to earn his love. It's like, oh, what a waste of lots of lifetimes, huh? When God is right here in our heart. So it's an interesting energy, and kind of almost like healing a lot of this Piscean age stuff and these false beliefs, these delusions, and distortions around the Christ mystery, the Christ mythology. I think that Jupiter in Sagittarius squaring up with Neptune at home, so they're both at home, and it's kind of like, okay, let's rumble, and let's, there's challenge, and there's with squares, it's always like a challenging energy. There's tension, but it's about getting to the end of the corner and needing to turn. And indeed, that's where we are ultimately. We've got to turn the corner on this reality. We cannot go back to the dark ages. We got to visit there for a while with this, all the Scorpio energy in this last year, and kind of go into the depths. But we have to transform and heal and free Neptune from the issues of the past age and come back into this oneness of like the truth of spirituality. If you go on a journey, you know, deep and deeper and deeper into spiritual concepts and learning and experiencing, you know, you eventually come to one thing, and it's one. And even quantum physics takes us there too. We are part of one reality. We are a facet of the oneness. That means we're made from and a fractal of God. So to kind of buy into this whole thing that, you know, and that's the Capricorn energy, which is so strong this next year with Saturn and Pluto coming together, you know, that energy is really potent. So the North Node is going to be challenging working with those energies, the South Node and the North Node opposing that Capricorn authority energy. And then Jupiter, the true quest, the true spirit, the true connection, the inspiration. It's like Jupiter and Sag is like, you cannot take this from me, you know, like I've got this fire within. I've got this passion for life, and you cannot take it from me. So that's coming up with the challenge of these delusions of this past age, you know. So really potent energy. And so look out for these times when this Jupiter square Neptune is happening, and because this is when we're going to be really freeing ourselves from all those false concepts that we talked about earlier in the video. And so the first hit is going to be in January, and then in April. So the month of January, it's kind of interesting start to 2019, right? You know, we're going to just jump right into it with that Jupiter squaring up with Neptune. Now, then Jupiter takes a retrograde at 24 degrees. So it cruises on through all the way to 24 degrees. And in April, starts a retrograde. And so it makes it go back into the square with Neptune. So we're going to be feeling that again, June into July. So kind of the summer months. And that's interesting too, because that's when like the nodes line up with all the Capricorn planets and the sun, and I think Venus and Mercury are in there too, kind of triggering all of that stuff. So kind of a intense time of shifting, almost like we got that new light coming in of Aries in the spring, of Chiron moving into Aries, Uranus moving into Taurus, and then we have to deal with a little bit of the backlash, right, of like what that light is bringing up for us. And so that's the whole energy of like that I was feeling around Jupiter moving into Sagittarius initially. It's like turning towards the light, and it's like almost easier to be in the darkness because you don't have to, you can face the things, but you just kind of, you don't necessarily have to change anything. If you're going to turn towards the light, it's going to light up that shadow, and we got to look at it, and we got to get rid of it, and we got to do the work, you know. So that's a pretty powerful energy. And so June and July, we'll be feeling that second square of Jupiter and Neptune. Now in August, on August 11th, Jupiter will turn direct at 14 degrees. So it goes from 24 back to 14 degrees. And then in September, that will bring it into the third and final square of Jupiter and Neptune. So in September, that's when we're going to be feeling. Now, when we have these hits with retrogrades where they go 3 times, I'll go, the square with Neptune happens 3 times. The third time is when you get the message, the gift, it all makes sense. So really powerful energy there, kind of like really, it's like that's when, if there's any blocks that have been keeping you from those new timelines, you know, that energy can catapult you through these blocks and into that new chapter. So in December, on December 2nd, Jupiter will then transit into Capricorn, starting the 2020 astrology. So intense because we have the South Node in Capricorn, we'll have Jupiter in Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn coming together, and Saturn and Pluto will start coming together in 2019. So, and then interacting with the nodes. So we're in it, right? We're in this window of time, just moving us into this incredibly powerful 2020 astrology, and look out for more information about that, as well as more details about 2019 as we move into this new year. So take a hold of this Jupiter and Sagittarius energy and grab back that connection, that inspiration, that higher level of existence and meaning and purpose and, learning and growth and the quest. And just use it to your advantage to support the landing of these optimal timelines and finding that soul group and getting together and working on these amazing projects as we hold space for this incredible transition on planet Earth, the spiritual ascension. It's why you're here, and it's what's happening, and that's why you're going through what you're going through. So good work, and thanks for being here, and thanks for getting back on the quest for the sake of all of us. And so I look forward to updates throughout this Jupiter and Sagittarius time. I look forward to connecting with you then. So until next time, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.